On the 28th of January 2022, the game Pokemon Legends Arceus was released, and not only was it a breath of fresh air for the franchise, with its vibrant graphics and new mechanics, it also gave us Hisuian variants of older Pokemon. Today we'll be ranking these Pokemon by how strong they were competitively, and for the record, I'll be using data from VGC, 4v4 as well as Smogon 6v6 singles to rank these Pokemon. At the very bottom of the list is the Pokemon Hisuian Avalanche, an Ice and Rock type. Ice is inherently a terrible defensive typing, and Game Freak decided it would be hilarious to double down with a secondary rock typing, giving Avalanche a thumbs for weakness to common types like fighting and steel, as well as a new weakness to water, grass and ground. Despite fainting to every single special attack known to man, Hisuian Avalanche can be a solid form of hazards control with its colossal base defense and access to the move Stealth Rock and Rapid Spin. It also gets the signature move Mountain Gale, which has a 30% chance of flinching the target. Since it has the ability Sturdy, you can give it a Custard Berry to land a Mountain Gale after getting your rocks up, and get some good shit damage. Alternatively, Avalanche can be used as a physical attacker with heavy duty boots. Teach it Body Press, a move that uses its defense stat to deal damage, and it can actually hit pretty hard. But Hisuian Avalanche is held back greatly by its atrocious type combination of Ice and Rock that's completely unsalvageable. Next is the Pokemon Warrior? I don't know. A normal Psychic type and a new evolved form of Standler. This Pokemon has two useful abilities in Intimidate, which lowers the attack of enemy Pokemon by one stage, and Zap Zipper, granting it an immunity to grass type moves and giving it an attack raise instead. However, Warrior suffers from middling base stats. It has decent attack and special attack, but it's painfully average everywhere else. It also has the awkward speed stat of 65, so it's neither fast enough to be a quick mixed attacker, nor slow enough for Trick Room. Warrior actually receives a variety of kind of good coverage moves like Mega Horn to hit dark types, Earthquake for steel, and the signature move Sideshoe Bash, a base 70 power move that raises the user's defense by one stage. This move is unfortunately really weak and unnecessarily inaccurate at 90. Pair this with the fact that Psychic isn't the best offensive type, and you'd rather just run Psychic Noise. That aside, Warrior can occasionally be seen in the ZU or PU tier as a Calm Mind Agility sweeper or a mixed attacker. Hisuian Braviary. This Pokemon is one of the greatest, if not the greatest shiny coloration of all time. Aside from that, there's nothing much good to say about it. It's a Flying and Psychic type special attacker which for some reason has lower base speed than its Unova counterpart and just slightly more bulk, which is not doing it any favors because Psychic Flying isn't a great defensive type to begin with. However, it does get the ability Sheer Force, which increases the damage of moves that have a secondary effect, but then removes that effect. It also negates Knife Orb recoil for some reason, so Hisuian Braviary can ideally be used as a somewhat bulky Life Orb attacker with Stab Hurricane, Psychic, Heat Wave to hit steel types, and Agility for speed control, or just Roost. It also has the signature move Esper Wing, which has a higher crit ratio and increases the user's speed by 1, but Psychic is generally preferred for its higher base power and better compatibility with Life Orb. One thing I noticed is that a lot of the signature moves given to Hisuian Pokemon have really low base powers, like take for example Hisuian Zoroark's Bitter Malice, Warrior's Sideshoe Bash, Overqwill's Bark Barrage, and yeah, most of them with the exception of Chloroblast. Just a strange observation, but I digress. Next is Hisuian Electrode, and that is the Hisuian variant of Electrode against the grass typing, which is pretty okay defensively. It makes it immune to Thunder Wave and powder moves like Spore and Leech Seed, which can be really useful, and ground type moves now hit it neutrally, but it gains new weaknesses to Bug and Ice. Hisuian Electrode has pretty similar stats to base Electrode, so a fast offensive pivoting role suits it really nicely. There's Taunt to prevent opposing Pokemon from setting up or getting hazards, as well as good stab options in Leaf Storm, Thunderbolt, and Volt Switch to pivot out. Overall, Hisuian Electrode has pretty good utility in the lower tiers, but it's unlikely to ever excel from that. This next Pokemon lives quite an unfortunate existence, and it's going to be the first starter on our list. Hisuian Decidueye is a grass and fighting type physical attacker with the hidden ability Scrappy. Scrappy blocks Intimidate and allows normal and fighting type moves to hit ghost types, which is really useful as it allows Hisuian Decidueye's signature move Triple Arrows to hit ghost types that are usually immune. This move is actually pretty cool. It has 3 secondary effects, a 50% chance to lower the target's defense by one stage, 30% chance to flinch the target, and a higher chance to crit. And of course you can't get all 3 effects to apply at once, but it's still a really good move. However, Hisuian Decidueye's poor speed stat forces it to run a Choice Scarf to be viable, but it gets good coverage moves like Brave Bird, Leaf Blade, and U-turn for pivoting. funnily enough, this Pokemon sees a niche use as a banded attacker in the metagame Godly Gift. By borrowing a high speed stat from a God Pokemon, it becomes a fearsome physical attacker that Ghost types can't switch into safely because of its amazing ability. Before its addition to Scarlet and Violet, nearly everyone envisioned Kleavor to be overpowered, rocking an impressive base attack stat of 135 and the signature move Stone Axe, a never before seen rock type move renowned for setting up stealth rocks in addition to dealing damage. You could also boost this damage output with Kleavor's ability Sharpness, which increases the power of all slicing moves. So why was Kleavor such a letdown? Well, firstly, it suffered from bad type combination of Bug and Rock, two inherently poor defensive typings. Kleavor also lacked bulk and was stuck with the awkward speed stat of 85, meaning other Pokemon could easily kill it before it could even move. This forced it to run the Focus Sash, which lets it endure a hit, but aside from that, Kleavor was just a disappointing, slow glass cannon that could get up rocks, but you probably wouldn't get much long-time value from it. Overqwil is a dark and poison type evolution of Hisuian Qwilfish, and I don't think anyone expected Qwilfish to get a Hisuian form, at least not me. I don't know, I just expected Game Freak to leave it in the dirt like it did with Love Disc, but Overqwil is something else. It boasts a good defensive typing that grants fairy neutrality and the ability Swift Swim. Overqwil was viable in higher tiers like OU and RU as a Swords Dance Life Orb attacker in the rain. It also has Liquidation to hit ground type super effectively, so it threatens its only type that it's weak to. But with the introduction of new Pokemon like Raging Ball and Walking Wake in the recent DLCs, as well as constant shift in the metagame, Overqwil found itself falling into the NU tier as a solid physical sweeper in rain teams. So overall, this Pokemon is really good. It has a good stat, it's good coverage options, but it just wasn't strong enough to keep up with the current standards of OU. Next is Hisuian Lilligant, which operates mainly as a Sun Sweeper with the ability Chlorophyll, which doubles its speed stat in the sun. Thankfully, this thing does not get access to Spore, at least I don't think it does. Surely it doesn't. It has the stab, Close Combat and Solar Blade, a base 125 power grass type move that typically requires a turn of charging, but can be used instantly in the sun. So it's really good synergy with Pokemon like Torkoal, especially in VGC doubles. It's not as good in singles, but it's a pretty decent Pokemon with coverage options like Triple Axle, Ice Spinner for flying types. Alternatively, you could use Lilligant as a setup sweeper with its signature move Victory Dance, which is basically a physical quiver dance, raising Lilligant's attack, defense and speed. So with the raised speed, it can run the Hustle ability, boosting damage output but lowering its accuracy. We can then remedy it by giving it the White Lens, restoring part of its accuracy loss. And Lilligant occasionally sees usage in OU as a niche sun attacker, but it's outshined most of the time by other grass types like Ogerpon Wellspring. I don't like Ogerpon Wellspring. Nyx is one of the coolest Pokemon to ever exist, and I initially refused to believe the design wasn't just a fan-made concept, since at one point fan-made concepts looked even better than the actual Pokemon designs. It's Hisuian Zoroark, many people's favourite Pokemon. It's one of mine, and it happens to be one of the best special wall breakers in the RU tier, with its unique normal and ghost typing, which grants it 3 immunities to normal, ghost and fighting, as well as only having a single weakness to dark, which it can easily remove with terrestrialization. This Pokemon has outstanding special attack and speed, and it typically runs the Choice Specs item to boost its damage output. Not many Pokemon can resist the stab combination of Hyper Voice, Shadow Ball and Focus Blast. Hisuian Zoroark can also threaten to trick the Choice Specs item onto a defensive Pokemon that tries switching in. The ability Illusion can also conceal Hisuian Zoroark, making it appear as another Pokemon. So that has quite a bit of outplay potential, and perhaps it could disguise itself as a Dark type, fooling Pokemon into using a Fighting type attack, which it's obviously immune to, and overall it's a very solid special wall breaker, peak Pokemon design, and yeah, I love it. The next Pokemon has actually had quite an imposing presence in VGC Regulation Set H, and you might argue that Hisuian Typhlosion doesn't deserve a spot this high in the list, but its impact while it lasted was undeniable. Hisuian Typhlosion was an incredible Choice Scarf or Choice Specs attacker in Sun teams, primarily because of its high special attack and access to the powerful spread move Eruption, a 150 base power move that's power relies on how high the user's HP is. Its ghost typing also grants it immunity to Porygon 2's Terra Blast, as well as Fake Out from opposing Incineroars or Rillabooms. Additionally, Overheat in the sun with Terra Fire can OHKO Porygon 2 with the Eviolite item, which is kinda crazy, and it has Stab Shadow Ball to hit I don't know, ghost types. So that makes Hisuian Typhlosion quite a notable threat, and in singles this Pokemon is less dominant without the support it receives in doubles, but it settles down nicely in the NU tier. Basculegion, the new water and ghost type evolution of the white striped Basculean variant, was a Pokemon that once called OU its home, purely because of its potential as an endgame sweeper with the broken move Last Respects. This move has a 50 base power that increases in power by 50 for each fainted ally Pokemon, capping at a whopping 300 base power if Basculegion is the only Pokemon standing. So yeah, this was incredibly broken. You could just run the Choice Scarf on Basculegion to outspeed everything and just sweep the rest of your opponent's team with Last Respects, incredibly no skill. And so it was eventually banned from most tiers, including OU and even Ubers, although Basculegion still saw some play in VGC Rain teams where you could abuse the move freely. However, it would be wrong to say that Basculegion had fallen off completely, as it still had a place as a choice banded attacker with Swift Swim or adaptability. So it could occasionally be seen in niche rain teams in OU, but the loss of a move as overpowered as Last Respects really hurt it, solidifying its current placing in the NU tier. The pseudo-legendary Pokemon Goodra received its Hisuian form in the Dragon and Steel type Hisuian Goodra. This Pokemon was anticipated to be an unbreakable defensive wall upon its introduction, because Steel and Dragon are fantastic defensive types, and you have Fairy, Ice and Dragon neutrality. The only weaknesses are to ground and fighting, hence its subtle presence in OU. Unfortunately, Hisuian Goodra does not get any sort of recovery moves, but it has the decent ability Sap Sipper, granting it an immunity to grass type attacks and an attack raise upon getting hit by one, which you probably won't benefit much from it. But in RU it's mostly used as a bulky Specs attacker, with a decent base 110 special attack and moves like Draco Meteor, Flash Cannon, Thunderbolt and Flamethrower. Its high special defense and bulk makes it very hard to get rid of, meaning it can probably get some long-term value from staying on the field. You could also run the Assault Vest item for increased special bulk, with Knockoff for utility. Another popular moveset in the OU tier is with defense boosting move, Acid Armor and Body Press, raising Goodra's base defense as well as the damage output from Body Press. It's a very interesting moveset, and I'd recommend it if you want to try out Goodra for yourself. So overall, it's a very bulky special wall with various uses, but not an overwhelming presence. I speak for many people when I say I never expected this next Pokemon to be as strong as it was, purely because of its abysmal typing defensively. And in fact, the only other Pokemon that shares its type combination of Fire and Rock is Magcargo, so I was pleasantly surprised by Hisuian Arcanine's performance competitively. Its stats may look pretty average, but it's Hisuian Arcanine's move pool that makes it a force to be reckoned with. Hit Smash, a base 150 power, 80 accuracy rock type move that deals half of the user's health in recoil and has the secondary effect removed, thanks to Hisuian Arcanine's ability Rock Hit, which negates all forms of recoil damage. It learns Flare Blitz, a powerful fire type move that also deals recoil, as well as close combat for coverage. And just like its Cantonian counterpart, Hisuian Arcanine gains access to the priority move Extreme Speed, allowing it to attack before fast enemy Pokemon and potentially secure KO. It also has good utility in the form of Stealth Rocks, Healing with Morning Sun, and Wild Charge for water types that would normally hit it for quad super effective damage. The Forces of Nature trio, Thundurus, Landorus and Tornadus, were rudely greeted by the introduction of a Pokemon nobody ever asked for, Enamorus, a fairy and flying type with a neck only shorter than Farigiraf's. Despite its questionable design, Enamorus manages to prove itself as a fast Choice Specs or Choice Scarf Revenge Killer and Sweeper. Stat Moonblast hits like a truck with base 135 special attack. Earth Power is great against Steel types, and Mystical Fire has the secondary effect of lowering the target's special attack by one stage. What truly makes Enamorus terrifying, however, is its ability Contrary, which reverses the effects of stat changes that it receives. Taking a Mystical Fire would mean that this Pokemon would instead receive a special attack boost, and it can use Super Power to hit Steel type super effectively and raise its attack and defense by one stage each. Overall, Enamorus is a terrifying Choice Scarf sweeper, with great coverage options. Hisuian Samurott is perhaps the best out of the Hisuian starter trio and has seen more of a rise in usage lately, as the primary hazard setter in many teams. Its dark typing means that it's immune to prankster moves, and its signature ability Ceaseless Edge deals stab dark type damage while also setting up a layer of spikes, which is incredible. Stat wise, this Pokemon is nothing special, but it is the Swiss Army knife of the OU tier. It has Taunt to deny opposing setup, or hazards, Encore for the same purpose, Knockoff for item removal, and Aqua Jet and Sucker Punch just for some quick chip damage before fainting. Claiming second place is Ursaluna in its base form, and since its Blood Moon form was released in the Tumas DLC, I won't be taking that into account. Ursaluna is a monstrous physical attacker on Trick Room teams, and even without Trick Room teams, it's incredible. In Regulation Set G, this Pokemon is a primary threat that forces many teams to incorporate a counter of some sort. It has massive bulk, an immense attack stat of 140 that is boosted by its ability Guts, and the item Flame Orb to activate Guts. Not many things can live a Stab Facade or Headlong Rush, and this Pokemon has proven itself to be one of the premier threats in Gen 9 OU and VGC as a whole, hence it's really deserving of the second place spot. And finally, the number 1 Pokemon from Hisui, the most meta-defining Pokemon in both VGC and Smogon 6v6 singles, it's Sneasler. I do not like this Pokemon, I resent it with a burning passion, yet there are 3 big reasons for its success. First, it has excellent stat combination of Fighting and Poison. Fighting to hit Steel types that are normally immune to Poison, and Poison to hit Fairy types that would normally resist Fighting. Secondly, its ability Unburden raises its speed stat once it consumes its held item, which is typically the White Herb. White Herb cures all stat drops, meaning Sneasler is probably the fastest thing on the field after a single close combat. The last reason is this move, Direct Claw. This move right here. I don't like it. I hate it. Game Freak, please delete this move, please. You know what? Just delete Sneasler. I have a vendetta against this thing, and I assure you it's not gonna be missed. And that's it for the video. So if you guys enjoyed, please be sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. And shout out to my friend Found It Too. He's a competitive player who gave me some feedback on the initial tier list and helped me make some changes. So thank you all for watching, and remember to subscribe. Bye.